Is it working?
Yep.
Okay, super. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to talk to you about dissecting a moss leaf and with a demonstration about it also. So why would you bother with dissecting a moss? Sounds like something you do in biology lab. Well, why can't you just look at pictures and match them to other pictures and figure out what moss it is then? Dissecting a leaf from a moss gives you a much clearer view of these tiny characteristics that are part of of moss. You get a chance to make these really detailed observations as you're doing it for multiple aspects of not just the leaf, but of the plant completely, the way the leaf is attached, what else is attached. And it's really important often to take notes about what you're seeing, unless you've got a really good memory, which isn't me. But so we do it because often there are similar looking mosses like these two that you see here. From the ground, these are close-up pictures too, but if you're standing up there, even if you kneel down, these could look very much alike, especially if you don't have a lot of practice or you're in a new area where you don't know the mosses. Here's an example of two leaves that these are microscopic pictures that look very similar in shape, and the alar region, there's not much difference there. But because it's under the microscope, you can see the margins have this slight serration on this one. And the more obvious difference between them is their costa. This one just kind of disappears right here, while the hygroamblystigium goes clear up into the tip of the moss, and the leaf, and it's very thick. So that's one difference that will be much more apparent under the loop or the stereoscope or the compound scope. So the equipment you need for dissecting a moss leaf, well, first you need a moss, but they come in two types. One is hydrated and not hydrated. So if you have the hydrated kind, you're pretty much set to go. But if you have the dehydrated kind, you'll need some kind of container to hydrate it. And that can be almost anything. This is a Petri dish, or this is a little, I don't know, one of those takeout containers. And this is a condiment container. Anything will work. It doesn't have to be big. Smaller is better because the moss is very small. So you also will need an eyedropper or something to dispense a small amount of water that's going to go on your slide, your microscope slide, besides the water you use to hydrate it with. And an eyedropper works great, but you can also find these needle bottles that I like those because I'm really bad with water. I make messes, and those seem to give me a little more control over how much water I put on my slide. And this will all come clear as you watch the video in a minute. So another thing you need are slides and cover slips. Those are easily available. The slide is transparent, so when you put it on the compound microscope, the light shines through the bottom and into the objectives and where the magnification takes place. And then you need to cover the wet sample you have with this really thin cover slip that helps to hold down what you've put on the slide, and it protects the objective that can come very close to the slide. In case you get too close to it, it keeps the water thin and away from the objective too. So the cover slips are really fun. As slides, you can reuse, clean them up. Cover slips, I have cleaned and reused cover slips in my lifetime too. I gave that up though, but you can do that. So forceps or tweezers are really important, and they come in many sizes. This one, is really a little too big. My son gave this to me. He uses it on his bicycles. I did not know they used tweezers on bicycles, but I have some other ones you can look at that are that are more better. So here's some other examples. Now you have tweezers or forceps lying around the house, probably. I have an eyebrow tweezer. These two came from a dissection kit that I think I had in college or high school. And they're really too big for moss leaves to be used with moss leaves. Then there are these other kind over here that are, see the tips, how fine those tips are. And even when they get down to really fine, they can be a little bit big. These two over here, they work really well. They're not expensive. I just got this one in the mail on the right, and it was only $6. And it's a decent pair of forceps. And I started out with this kind, which is very similar, and it worked fine. But then I got my hands on a really, really fine tipped one, and I couldn't look back, but these do cost more. So I wanted to show you what the tips look like compared to the moss. These are those eyebrow tweezers and the dissection kit forceps. You can see they really are too big. You could use one of them to hold the moss with one hand if you had a finer one to pull leaves off with. Here are the good ones. That's what they look like compared to the moss. And then there's a comparison of those really fine tipped ones. You can see how small they are with one that's pretty good. So when you're dissecting a moss leaf, these are the steps. First, you remove the small bit from the bigger clump. So you get a few stems to look at. And while you do that, you make note of all the things you can see while you're doing that, how they're attached, do they have a lot of rhizoids? Are they compact in the clump? Are they spread apart? Any little thing that you notice. And you'll also be looking at them in their dry state if you have a dry one, because the leaves often are in a different aspect when they're dry than when they're wet. So then the next step is to rehydrate the moss and watch, because I never get tired of watching a moss rehydrate. But how it rehydrates and what it ends up looking like is really important too. Fortunately, that's just such a fun thing to watch that that's one of the best parts. Then you put I put the stem on a slide, and you notice how the leaves are attached to the stem, how close they are together. Are they spread far apart? And then you can look at other things on the stem also. Then you start to remove the leaves with the forceps, and you move them into a drop of water that you put on the slide. And you put a cover slip on that, over that water, drop and make any water adjustments that you need. And if you don't have a way to measure the leaves, you can do that, and I'll show you how I do it with a ruler before you put the slide on the compound scope. You can just place that right under the slide and do some measurements. So this is the video. It's about 9 minutes, and I have controls down here. I can stop it and start it. So if anyone has any questions while we're doing this, go ahead and ask them. Or we can go back to places in the video too. So without further ado, here it goes. I'll do some narration. Don't look at my fingernails. So this is a centrichia. That's what it looks like dry. And this is the part I talk about, never getting tired of seeing a moss rehydrate. You can see how as it rehydrates, the leaves are curling back, they're reflexing. And they have these long hair points at the very tips of the leaf, and the really sharp costa that's on the back of the leaf. It's called a keeled costa. And when I start out dissecting, I often do a lot of this is where you put down your drop of water that you'll put your leaves in. This isn't much smaller than it really would be. That little square is where the working area I have to work in because of the microscope camera. That's what it sees. That's all I can see. So I have to keep my work within that to be able to photograph it. But I often play around with it and just to see like how are the leaves, how firm are they attached, what else is there. I try to pull some off at the bottom so there's a little bit of room to get in when they're thick like this. That's a clump of rhizoids I'm removing because I'm just trying, yeah, and everybody does it differently, and every moss is different. So what I'm trying to do is get my forceps under the leaf down to the base of it so I can kind of pull from the top to the bottom and get all of the leaf off in one piece without ripping off the base of it. You can see things never go right, never go easy.
Hey, Stacy,
Uh-huh.
maybe this is a good time to mention because I have trouble with this too. The where it's recommended that you take the leaves you're going to examine, whether at the very tip or at the very base or in the middle. You're kind of showing that, but that's
Yeah.
always confused me.
That's a good point. If you can, somewhere in the middle, not too old, not too young. The young ones are at the top, the old ones at the bottom. So the middle's a good place, but sometimes that doesn't work out so well. And you get the leaves, the best leaves you can that look the healthiest and in one piece. I like to take them from different places on the stem.
Okay.
That's the idea with that one. It's a good question. Mhm. I didn't think of a good soundtrack for this.
Maybe the Mission Impossible theme.
That's good. So you can see I'm trying to get my forceps along the leaf and to pull it off so it won't, I'm not tearing them apart. On this, what I'm doing with that little, a couple of leaves on the left here is I'm creating a stack of leaves that I will cross section then, and that'll be for another month. I'll put that together. I did one on cross sectioning too. But this is what I like to do if I know I'm going to cross section, I pull leaves off to look at, and then I make a stack, and then I cross section. I put a cover slip on the leaves, and then I go do my cross sections all on the same slide. But you don't have to do that. I didn't do that in the beginning. So keeping your leaves wet is important. Sometimes if I'm really slow and ignore them, they dry up. And if they dry up, uh, they blow away really easily. I'm trying to separate the leaves out and they're attached kind of to each other. You can see that some of them are kind of broken off. And it's okay to have, you don't have to have all complete leaves because there's there's parts of each leaf you can look at. Even when I have little chunks, it's sometimes easier to see the cells on them because they'll lay flatter. So it all works. If you can get a few though that are whole, that gives you good leaf measurements and lets you see the whole or how everything works together. This is where I do water control. I get really messy, so I try to clean up as I go. Another thing you try to do is get some leaves with their abaxal side up, which is the back side, or their adaxal side up, which is the side that faces the stem when it's attached. Centrichia tend to lie naturally with their abaxal side up with that curve. I'm just moving my stack of leaves there for cross-sectioning later. I'm getting ready to put the cover slip on, so I'm trying to put in the amount of water I think is necessary and then spread the leaves out so they don't all clump together, which sometimes I have less luck with than others. And here goes the cover slip. When I do it, I hold it with the forceps on one side. And then I stabilize one edge while I lower it down, keeping part of the forceps still under the slide, the cover slip, so it doesn't completely touch the base. Then I can kind of control how fast the water moves from the low end to the higher end where the forceps are holding it up. But I don't have enough water, so I'm trying to add a drop of water here. It should, you can see the problem. It's going over the top of the cover slip, although some of it's being drawn underneath the cover slip also. So I put water on the other side and it's going under the cover slip. And then a couple of taps will take care of that. And this is the water cleanup.
I assume this is distilled water so that you don't get it drying and leaving minerals, or is there something else in the water?
No, I use distilled water. Yeah, because then that little blob that I goofed, when it dries off, it won't be a problem. You're right, Andy. Thank you for that.
Well, your leaves sure end up a lot more whole than mine do. Mine are always just ripped to pieces.
This is how you can measure with, that's my IKEA tape measure. It has a metric side. You can just hold it underneath your leaf. So that one is 1, 2, 3. It's over 3 millimeters long, and that's not including the hair point. And then you turn it around and get the width, more or less. And that'll usually work well enough to figure out, is it a large leaf or a small leaf, or hit the proportions that the keys we'll talk about. And that's it. So this is, oh boy, that didn't come out very well. This is the leaf right here that we were looking at. And as you can see in a higher magnification, this is the margin and it's revolute or recurved. It curves under, and this is the back side or the abaxal side of the moss. And you can also see the detail of this hair point with all its little spines. So, questions? Stop sharing. Well, maybe I won't. People may have questions does anybody want to see anything in the video again? This will be up on the YouTube channel. So if you want to look at it some more, you can there easily.
So what did you ID it to?
Centrichia ruralis. I knew it was that before I started.
There are some questions in the chat you could read through.
Okay, well, could you read them to me, Chuck?
Yep. Let's see.
I will stop sharing here. There we go.
Let's see. I'm going to scroll back a bit. And Jacob was asking if there's any characters that are restricted to the younger leaves when you're talking about pulling off different leaves.
Oh, wow. I don't think so. I think you're more likely. Well, anybody else got an answer on that one? Sometimes older leaves, they get degraded, some characteristics. And maybe on really young ones, they're not completely formed yet. Anybody else?
No, I agree. It's more that a young leaf is likely to be intact, and whereas an older one might begin to degrade. I don't know. I mean, you can't really trust the measurements necessarily on a young leaf. That would be one thing we'd want a more mature one, and maybe they recurve a little bit less or something. I don't know. I don't know that for a fact, but they're certainly easier to look at for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Definitely.
you find more easily gemmy and brood bodies in the tips of the stems, and so they're maybe not on the leaves, but you'll see them up there. Or they'll come off with the leaves.
Yeah.
It's good to have a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
Good
And I
point.
can add, because some of you are making good comments about the Dumont forceps, and I have those also, but you need to know as soon as you spend the extra money and they arrive, you will drop them on the tip.
Or you buy two.
You may draw blood.
Mhm. Yeah.
I should show everyone. You go ahead. What's the next question? I'm going to get my forceps.
Well, Ethan asked a question a little bit earlier that maybe you addressed. When and why do you use distilled water?
Ah, right. Well, it is for that, what Andy talked about,
Yeah.
so that when that water dries up, it doesn't leave behind the minerals. And I think it might be better for the mosses too, depending on what water you get. It could cause something in your moss to happen, whereas distilled water is closer to rain. That's my general guess. I don't know that.
Clifton just posted another one. I'm just going to read it straight out. It's a struggle getting leaf sections thin enough that they fall on their side rather than continue to just lay flat. Are you able to achieve this consistently for steroid bands and similar structures?
I have a method after a lot of practice, and I made a video. I don't have it edited yet. I can maybe show it next time on how I do cross sections. There's a couple of different ways. If you do a stack of leaves like that, I don't know if Clifton, if you use a stack like that, that helps a lot to get a lot of cross sections. Any success I have comes with numbers.
Mhm.
The more you get. And sometimes when I'm doing cross sections and I'm sectioning, I found that if I think I'm going up and down in the same spot, I'm not. And I get thinner ones that way when I can do that. A couple of times I think I'm in the same spot up and down. You're not. So
Mhm.
think of it that way, that don't think about moving down the moss or moving if you use the probe method with the roller, don't move it too fast. Think about going up and down in the same spot a few times before you move.
You can put the whole acrocarp under a top scope, top slide too, and just I move it slightly down and just slice away the whole thing, and you
Yeah,
end up getting
Yeah.
several cross sections.
yeah, especially with the small ones.
There's
Yeah.
also a product you can get from the pharmacy. It's like a waxy substance. You put you sprinkle it on the slide and you melt it, and then you could just put your moss on there and it's stuck on there. And as soon as you put water on it, it dissolves under this thing.
Huh. Do you
But
know
you
what
can
that's
slice
called?
it. Oh gosh. I was
I
afraid to
have
be
not heard of
tested on
that.
it because I can't
Yeah.
remember it.
Can probably
I
figure
think
it
it's a
out. That's
peg. I think
It's a what?
isn't it a polyethylene glycol type thing, like a peg
oh,
product, I
okay.
think.
Yeah, all
I'm
right.
not sure. I've heard people mention that before.
Yeah.
So wait, do you not put a cover slip on then, or what?
Yeah,
No,
after you take slices of it.
you'd still put a cover slip.
Yeah.
Because the stuff
Okay.
dissolves, right? So you're ideally.
Yeah.
Super.
The key is don't expect to make one cut. I mean, you might make 30 leaf sections and one will be okay, maybe 50.
Oh, okay.
Just keep
Yeah.
doing, just do it a whole lot, and
Yeah, it's
chances
like
are
those.
one will be okay.
It's like those chefs that go chip, 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 really fast. Don't go fast, but they just make a whole bunch of cuts and they get really fine stuff. It's similar to that coleslaw.
And the other thing that gives us hope is that if you're just doing dissections for identification, you don't need perfect sections.
No,
You
That's
just need to be able to see the features.
Mhm.
If you're wanting to take really nice pictures of cross sections, then the more cuts you make, then you'll finally get some. So you can usually identify things with some pretty poor sections.
That's a really good
Yeah.
point.
Don't let the
It's-
perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
The same with leaf dissection. It's very similar. Yeah. Let's see what else. I was going to show you how I've got my, okay. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to unblur my background to show you this. Okay. So these are my really fine forceps. And if I bend a tip, which I do all the time, and these have been bent and straightened multiple times, the way I straighten them, as I take, let's see, I put them in between. So you can see how I've got the bent part is within where I squeeze. And then I squeeze it together. So I've got it, I'm holding it. And then I pull it through as I'm squeezing. And this part multiple times, and then I check it under the scope. If I just keep doing that, keep pulling it, it straightens out that bent tip. And I've coiled the tip. I don't know, I bet you guys have too, because I dropped it straight down and I looked at it and that tip was coiled around. And when I did that enough, it worked. It took a little time, but it's a really simple way to keep them straight. They're never as good as they were to begin with, but they're workable. It worked until I bent it and straightened it so much that a tiny little tip broke off, but oh well. That's
So
what
it's
you
called,
asked for Christmas, right? Go
it's
ahead,
called
Chris.
Miralax granules.
Miralax. Okay, great.
Miralax granules, and it's a generic.
Thank you.
It gets a cheap one. It lasts forever.
Relax.
In the common mosses of Western Oregon, which everybody in California owns by McCune and Hutton, it tells how they use the Miralax to
Oh,
form a little thing to chop it up.
Mm-hmm.
that's this book right here, right?
That's it. It's in there. It's in the beginning. How to make.
Okay,
Okay, good.
super. I did not know that.
That was really
Speaking of
excellent,
Oregon
Stacey.
books,
Yeah.
sorry. Speaking of Oregon books, I just got the Hepaticae and Anthrocerotes of Western Oregon, real old one from
Oh,
1929.
yeah. Sanborn.
Cool.
But yeah, Sanborn.
Did all the questions from the chat, did everybody's question get pretty much answered? Okay. Well, are there any others? Go ahead.
Couple other ones. Do you have any special techniques when you get a moss that is like a leaf that is super thick and curled, and you can sort of force it to be flat, but it doesn't really want to be flat? Do you just live with it? Do you smash it anyways? What do you?
What are you trying to do with the leaf? Are you trying to cross section or just put it on a
No,
slide?
no, just trying to view it either for ID or take a picture of it.
Uh-huh. Those are hard. Usually if you put them under a cover slip, they'll split where they need to split to go flat. I have cut leaves in half to try to get rid of some of the flexion in it. But usually they do what they want to do under the cover slip. Does anybody else have?
I think sometimes people have used hot water, even boiling water. I don't know if that works well enough to make it worth doing or not, but it's
to get
easy
them to
to
relax.
try.
Yeah.
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 Oh, it would make it real soft, kind of like when you're cooking spinach.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, yeah. If you wanted any cell contents, then you wouldn't have them. But if you're just looking at like leaf cell walls and things, it's worth a try. Again, doesn't cost much.
Yeah, I wonder if those mug warmers that keep your coffee hot, it's not a real high heat hot plate, but those might work. I have never tried it. I know Bill Buck did that.
Yes.
He would stick
he would always
sample.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He was often doing that with very old dried material though. But yeah, he did do that routinely.
Yeah. I think he said it drove away the air bubbles too. Drove the air out of
that's true. We would do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's useful for mosses, but with lichens, we use bleach and potassium hydroxide, which both help clear out the cells and soften the tissue. I can often get thick sections to behave better in K or potassium hydroxide or bleach.
Yeah, you can use both those chemicals for mosses too.
Yeah. And potassium hydroxide is easy to get on Amazon in little dropper vials. Anyone else? Thanks, Jacob. Okay, well, let's go on to Barbara's presentation here. Mosses in winter. We just need some winter.